Cheers. Hello. Welcome back to the Rolling Darkness Revue channel. I'm Glen Hirshberg. Today I'm going to read to you from the 2007 tour chapbook. This was one of the last tours we did with the late, great Dennis Etchison. And it was probably our wildest tour. This included the show in the wine cave in Napa, where we were at the end robbed by zombies, and the show in the basement bookstore in Truckee, where we lost our musician, had to do the whole thing on the spot, campfire style, and wound up having one of our most enjoyable evenings ever. And the whole night ended with a 10-year-old child in a Thulu mask bursting through a curtain and terrorizing the entire room. It was a great time. Anyway, so this is my story from the 2007 Rolling Darkness Revue, and it's called Miss Ill-Kept Runt. Chloe comes clinking out the front door into the twilight, pudding pop in one hand and a dragon in the other. The summer wind sets her frizzy brown hair flying around her, and she says, "Whoa," tilting up on one foot, as though anything less than an F-5 Twister, a tag team of grizzly bears, a fighter jet, could drag her and the 15 pounds or so of bead necklace around her neck off the ground. The plastic baubles and seashell fragments and recently ejected baby teeth bump along her chest as she tilts, then straightens. "I told you to get in pajamas," says her father, from the side of the station wagon, where he's still trying to wedge the last book and pan boxes into the wall of suitcases and cartons separating the front seat from the way back, where Chloe and her brother the Miracle will be riding, as always. "These are pajamas," Chloe says, lifting the massive beads so her father can see underneath. Sweating, exhausted before the drive even starts, her father smiles. Better still, the Miracle, who is already stretched in the way back with his big kid feet dangling out the open back door and his Pokemon cards spread all over the space Chloe is supposed to occupy, laughs aloud and shakes his head at her. In Chloe's world, there are only a few things better than pudding pops and beads. One of them is her older brother noticing, laughing. The baby teeth on her newest necklace are mostly for him. She actually thinks they look blah, too plain, also a little bitey. But she'd known he would like them. "Miss Ill-Kept Runt," her brother says, and goes back to his cards. She's just climbing into the back, enjoying the Miracle's feverish sweeping up of cards, his snapping "wait" and "don't" at her, when her mother emerges from the empty house. Freezing, Chloe watches her mother tighten the ugly gray scarf, it looks more like a dish rag, around her beautiful dark hair, linger a last long moment in the doorway, and finally aim a single glance in the direction of her children. Chloe starts to lift her hand, but her mother is hurrying around the side of the station wagon, eyes down, and Chloe hears her drop into the passenger seat just before her father wedges the Miracle's feet inside the car and shuts the way back door. "Stan," her mother says, in her new bumpy voice, like a road with all the road peeled off, "let's just go." It's the move, Chloe. That's what her father has been saying for months now. Her father's already in the driver's seat, and the station wagon is shuddered to life under Chloe's butt and is making her necklaces rattle when her mother's door pops open, and all of a sudden she's there, pulling the back door up, blue-eyed gaze pouring down on Chloe like a waterfall. Chloe is surprised, elated. She wants to duck her head and close her eyes and bathe in it. "Happy birthday," her mother says, bumpy-voiced, and reaches to touch her leg, then touches the Miracle's instead. He doesn't look up from his cards, but he waves at her with his sneaker. "It's not my birthday yet," Chloe says, wanting to keep her mother there, prolong the moment. Her mother gestures toward the wall of boxes in the back seat. "We'll be driving most of the night. By the time I see your face again, it will be." And there it is, faint as a fossil in rock, but there all the same. Her mother's smile. A trace, anyway. It really has been the move, Chloe thinks, as her mother slams the door down like a lid. "Say goodbye to the house," her father says from up front on the other side of the boxes. Chloe can't see him, and she realizes he sounds different too, far away, as though he's calling to her across a frothed-up river. But right on cue, she feels the rev. Rum, rum. It's reassuring. The thing he always does before he goes anywhere. She bets he's even turned around to give her his go face, forgetting there's a wall of cardboard there. Then they are going, and Chloe is surprised to find tears welling in her eyes. They're not because she's sad. Why should she be? They're moving back to Minnesota to be by Grammy and Grumpy's, where they can water ski every day, Grumpy says. And when Chloe says, you can't water ski in winter, Grumpy says, maybe you can. But just for a moment, pulling out of the drive, she's crying. And the Miracle sits up, bumping his big kid head against the roof and squishing her as he turns for a last look. Bye, house, she says. Pencil mouse, says the Miracle, and Chloe beams through her tears. It's her own game, silly rhyme pencil game. She made it up when she was 3 to annoy her brother into looking at her, and it mostly worked, but she couldn't ever remember him playing it. Want to do speed, she says, and the Miracle laughs. He always laughs now when she says that, but only because their father does. Her father has never said what's funny about it, and she doesn't think the Miracle knows either. Play speed, he answers, grinning. Maybe to himself, but because of her, so that doesn't matter. In a minute. And he glances fast over his shoulder toward the wall of boxes and then turns away from her again, temporarily. But Chloe has noticed that the grin is gone, and when she settles onto her shoulder blades and stretches out her legs to touch the door while her head brushes the back of the back seat, she realizes she can hear her mother over the rumbling engine, over the road bumping by. Oh, freeze, her mother is whispering over and over, or else cheese, or please. It isn't the words, it's the whispering, and Chloe realizes she knows what her mother is doing too. She's hunched forward, picking at the hem of her skirt on her knees, her pale, knobby knees. Knees? Is that what she's saying? No. Please. Bye, trees, Chloe whispers, watching the familiar branches pop up in her window to wave her away. The blue pine, the birch, the oak where her father thinks the woodpecker always knocks. The black-branched, leafless fire trees the crows pour out of every morning like spiders from a sack. After the fire trees come the open stretch of road with no trees. The trees after that are ones she doesn't know, at least not by name, not to say hello or wave goodbye. Then come brand new trees. Please, comes her mother's voice from the front seat. Dad, Gordy Foot, the Miracle all but shouts. Right, comes her father's answer, not as shiny as usual, but just as fast. Seconds later, the CD's on, and Chloe can't hear her mother anymore. Fire trees, Chloe is thinking, dreaming. Fire on a hillside with no grass and a ring of stones, but not warm enough. No matter how close she wriggles, she can't get close enough. She's been out on this mountainside with the gray rocks and gray snakes for too long, and this cold is old, so old, older than daylight, older than she is. She could jump into the fire and never be warm. Jerking, Chloe struggles up onto her elbows, almost laughing. She has never been camping, not that she can remember. The snakes she knows are green and slippy shiny except when they're dead, and the crows have been at them. And the only cold she's felt the last few months is the lily pond water from the Barrys' backyard. On the CD, Gordyfoot is singing about the pony man who'll come at night to take her for a ride. And out the window the sky's going dark fast with the sun gone. Chloe thinks it's funny that the Miracle asked for this CD since he says he hates Gordon Lightfoot now. But she also understands, or thinks she does. It's hard to imagine being in the way back, in the car with her parents, and listening to anything else. They keep the entire Gordon Lightfoot collection up there. Also, if the CD wasn't on, they'd have to listen to their mother. Freeze, please, pencil bees. For a long while, long enough to get out of their neighborhood and maybe even out of Missouri, half a CD or more. Chloe watches the wires in her window swing down, shoot up, swing down, shoot up. It's like starting and erasing an Etch-a-Sketch drawing. The window fills with trees and darkening sky and the thick black lines of wire, then boop, telephone pole, and everything's blank for a second and then fills up again. Gets erased, fills up again, gets erased. Abruptly it's all the way dark, and the wires vanish, and Venus pounces out of the sky. It's too bright, has been all summer, as though it's been lurking all day just on the other side of the sunlight. With the Miracle coiled away from her and his head tilted down, she can see the semicircle scar at the base of his neck, like an extra mouth, almost smiling. Chloe has always thought of that spot as the place where the Miracle actually happened, though she's been told that's just where the clip to stop blood flow went. The real scar is higher, under the hair, where part of her brother's skull got cut open when he was 5 years old. Of course, she'd been all of a week old at the time and doesn't remember any of it, but she loves the story. Her mother curled on the waiting room couch where she'd been ever since she'd given birth to Chloe, expecting the doctors to come at any moment and tell her that her son was dead. Her mother erupting from that couch one morning and somehow convincing the surgeons who'd said the surgery couldn't work that it would work, just by the way she said it. by the way she seemed to know, and it had worked. The pressure that had been building in the miracle's brain bled away. 2 days later, he woke up himself again. "What?" he says now, turning around to glower at her. "Speed, speed, speed," she chants. He glowers some more, but after a few seconds, he nods. "Yay," says Chloe. They can barely see the playing cards, which makes the game even more fun. Plus, the piles won't stay straight because of all the vibrations, which frustrates the miracle but makes Chloe laugh even more as their hands dart between each other's for cards and tangle up and slap and snatch. And finally, the miracle's laughing too, tickling her. Chloe's shrieking, and they're both laughing until their father snarls, "Kids, goddammit!" And both of them stop dead. Her father sounds growly, furious, nothing like he usually sounds. Because he's trapped up there with Mom, Chloe thinks. And then she's horrified to have thought that, feels guilty, almost starts crying again. "Sorry," she whimpers. "Just shh," her father says. It's the move, Chloe thinks, chants to herself. She lies back flat, and the miracle stretches as much as he can stretch beside her. The Pony Man is on again, so the same CD is played through twice, but only Chloe seems to have noticed. She's listening very closely, like the song says, so she'll hear the Pony Man if he comes. But all she hears is their station wagon's tires shushing on the nighttime road, which she imagines to be black and wet like one of those oil puddles birds get stuck in on nature shows. She's fairly sure she can hear her father's thumbs, too, drumming the beat on the steering wheel, and if she closes her eyes, she can see his stainy "Show Me" shirt and the wonderful white prickles around his happy mouth. He has told Chloe he's secretly a cat, and the prickles are whiskers he keeps trimmed so Mom won't know. He's been shaving more closely lately, though, smiling less. Then she realizes she can hear her mother, crying now. Even the cry is new, a low-down bear grunt, and Chloe turns toward the miracle's back and pokes it. "Tomorrow I'll be half as old as you," she whispers. The miracle doesn't respond. So she adds, "The next day I'll be more than half." The miracle still doesn't respond, and she wonders if he's sleeping. His back is hard and curved like an armadillo shell. "Catching up," she tries, a very little bit louder, and as she speaks, she glances into the seat back above her head as though she could see through it, through the cartons to her parents, as though they could see her. "You'll never catch up," the miracle murmurs, just as quiet, and Chloe thinks she can see his head tilt toward the front, too. "I can if you wait." "Will you just go to sleep?" he hisses, and Chloe startles, squirms back. The miracle's whole body drums to the road or the steady beat of her father's thumbs, but when he speaks again, he's using his nice voice. "It'll make the drive go faster." Chloe almost tells him she doesn't want it to go faster. She likes the way back, always has. Shut in with her brother, Gordyfoot's voice floating over and among them, her parents close but not with them, the stars igniting and the hours stretched longer and thinner than hours should be able to go. Silly putty hours. Chloe doesn't remember falling asleep, has no idea how long she sleeps, but she dreams of bird feet hands, hands but the fingers too thin, yellow hard. Her hands? Reaching through the bars toward the frantic, fluttering thing, all red and beating its pathetic little wings. A bump jolts her awake, or else the cold, that old cold. She almost cries out, wraps herself in her own arms, blinks, holds on, drags her brain back to itself. Air conditioning. It's just her father blasting the air conditioning to stay awake. It's not in her chest. There are no hands in her chest. Chloe's eyes fly all the way open, and just like that, she knows. She knows. They're not my parents. She knows because the Pony Man is on again, the CD repeating. How many times now? She knows because her father isn't tapping the steering wheel, which he always does, always, 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 especially to Gordyfoot. She knows because her mother would never let it get this cold. Her mother can't stand the cold. They always wound up fighting about it on night drives and then swatting each other off the temperature controls and laughing. And sometimes when they think Chloe and the miracle are sleeping, talking love talk very quietly. They're talking now, but not that way. And in their charged voices, in their changed voices. Her mother's bumpy, grunty, and low. Her father's a snarl. Someone else's snarl. Most of all, she knows because her mother's eyes, her real mother's eyes, are green, not blue. She very nearly screams, but jams her fist in her mouth, holds dead still. But the realization won't go away. They aren't my parents. It's ridiculous. A bird feet hand's dream. She wiggles furiously, trying to shake the realization loose. But in the front seat, the new people, the ones that were her parents, are grunting, snarl whispering, and Chloe's mother's eyes are green. At least the pony man finally goes off. But the next song is the Minstrel of the Dawn one, another song about someone coming. Stupid, Chloe insists to herself. This is stupid. She feels around for the snack bag. Her father has left the miracle stow back here, even though they've already brushed their teeth. The spiny, sticky carpet of the way back scratches against her palms, and the engine shudders underneath her. Her hand smacks down on the paper bag, which makes a little pop. Chloe quivers, holds her breath, and up front, the grunting and the whispering stop. Chloe doesn't move, doesn't breathe. Neither does anyone else in the car. They are four frozen people hurtling through the empty black. Even the CD has gone silent, because her parents have shut it off, Chloe realizes. It's so quiet inside the car that she half thinks she can hear the cornfields passing. The late summer stalks looming over the road like an army of aliens, an invasion that didn't come but grew. Their bodies grasshopper thin, leaves heavy, fruit swollen, fat, and dangling. Chloe, says her not father, in his almost snarl. Nearly faint from holding her breath, Chloe says nothing. After a second she hears rustling, but whether from the corn or up front, she can't tell. See, her mother whispers, I told you. Oh, for Christ's sake, says her father. 5 years of this. 5 years. You can't really believe... I can. And so do you. You always have. Just shut up, Carol. He's coming. Carol, he's coming. Face it. He's... Shut up! The CD blares to life, and Chloe almost bangs her head against the seat back in surprise. Her breathing comes in spasms, and she can't get it calm. The pony man is playing again. Why, she wonders. And why is she minding anyway? According to her mom and dad, this is the first song she ever knew. The one they sang her to sleep with when she woke up screaming when she was a baby. Then Chloe thinks, shut up? Her fingers grab so hard at the carpet that she pulls some out, little quills like a porcupine's. When has her father ever said that to anyone? And why is her mother laughing? If that is laughing, it's mostly grunt, panic breathing. What Chloe wants to do right now is wake the miracle. She can't believe he isn't awake already, but he hasn't stirred, still lies there with his back curved away and his scar smiling at her. If she wakes him, she knows she'll have to tell him, explain somehow, and she's worried they'll hear. Instead, she lifts herself so slowly, as silently as she can, matching her movements to the shush of the tires, onto her elbows again, turns over onto her stomach, raises her head, then raises it more, until she's above the seat back. She's hoping she can see. One good glimpse, she thinks, then she'll know. Then she can decide what to do. But her father has packed the boxes too tight. There aren't even cracks between them. The only empty space is at the very tip-top. Pushing all the way up, Chloe straightens, and her beads clank. This time, she very nearly throws herself out the back window. She's ready to. If they turn, if they pull to the shoulder and stop, she'll grab the miracle and yank him awake, and they'll run. But the car neither stops nor slows. The CD player continues to blare the Minstrel of the Dawn, who'll say your fortune when he comes. If her parents are talking, they're whispering so low that Chloe can't hear them. Apparently they haven't realized she's moving around. Not yet. Stretching, gripping her beads to keep them still, Chloe tries to get her eyes level with the opening at the top of the boxes, the little crack. But all she can see is the dark, inside dome light, the tiniest sliver of windshield, at least until a truck passes going the other way, its lights flooding the car and shooting shadows across the ceiling. But the shadows could be Corn, seatback. Surely her parents aren't that thin or that long. It's all Chloe can do to keep from burying her head between her knees in the tornado position they taught her in kindergarten. The words are out of her mouth almost before she's thought them or had time to plan. I have to go to the bathroom. For just a second, she sits, horrified, clutching her beads. But she had to. She needs to see. She's smushing her beads against her chest and holding her breath again as though any of that matters now. There's no response. Nothing at all. The car plunges on into the dark, and out her window the cornstalks twist their grasshopper shoulders to squirm even more tightly together, denying any glimpse of field or farmhouse behind them, so that Chloe's vision is blocked on 3 sides. The only way she can see is behind, the road that leads back to the home they've left. I have to go to the bathroom, she says again, meaning to be louder, but sounding smaller. This time, though, the CD shuts off, and that silence wells up from the floorboards. Chloe has begun to cry again, and this makes her angry. It's stupid, she thinks. This is stupid, or the world is a nightmare. Either way makes her angry. Then comes the sigh, long and explosive from the front seat. I thought I told you to go, growls Not Dad. Sorry, says Chloe. I did. All too soon, sooner than she thought possible, and she's seen no exit sign or prick of gas station light penetrating the leafy, squirmy blackness of the fields around her. Chloe feels the car start to slow. Hears the click, 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 click of the station wagon's blinker. In her mind, she can see it so clearly, that little green triangle eye winking at her from the dashboard. It's where I keep the frog, her father has always said, patting a spot right above the blinking turn signal, and they'd watch it blink together, and he'd say, "Ribbit," in time with the clicking. Until now. It happens all at once, the corn parting like a curtain and the station appearing, its light so bright that Chloe's eyes water, and she has to look away. The miracle mumbles and rolls over. The light sweeps across the old mannish wrinkle on his forehead as he dreams. Chloe knows that wrinkle like she knows the frog in the dashboard, her father's cat whiskers, the pony man. A wave of affection so wide and deep rushes through her that it is all she can do not to throw her arms around her brother's neck and bury her face there. Then, all at once, she goes rigid again. She hasn't heard any doors opening. They've barely stopped moving, but the silence has gone just that imperceptible bit more still. Her parents, both of them, are out of the car. Chloe whirls just in time to see the face fill the back window, black and scarfed, too big. The doors yawn open and she can't help it. She scurries back, pinning herself against the seat and the boxes with her hands raised and her mouth open to scream. But her mother is already gone, stalking across the blacktop toward the light, the mini-mart inside the station. She doesn't look back, doesn't wave Chloe on or call to her. But for that one moment, the set of those shoulders, the stupid shake of them, that's almost enough. That is my mother, Chloe thinks. That is my mother crying. She is half out of the car before she realizes she has no idea where her father is. Whirling, she bangs her head hard against the top of the door, expecting him to be right on top of her, with new long arms that open like wings and bird feet hands. At first, she still doesn't see him, and then she does. He's at the edge of the lot, right on the lip of the road, where the cornfield devours the light. Like her mother, he has his back to her, and abruptly Chloe wants nothing more than to call out, lure him here. He and Mom have been fighting, she thinks, rubbing the back of her head, making herself breathe. That's all it is. It's the move, Chloe. Ribbit. Something red flickers in his fingers. Chloe has leapt from the station wagon and is backing across the tarmac after her mother before she realizes it's a cigarette. Fast on the heels of that realization comes another. She has never seen her father with a cigarette before, but he's been smoking lately. That's what that smell has been. Stopping by one of the silent pumps, Chloe bathes in the bright light, willing herself to cut it out. Beyond her, the cornstalks, barely visible, wiggle their leafy antennae in the night breeze, rattle their bulgy, distended husks. By tomorrow, maybe by the next time she wakes, her family will be at their new house. By tomorrow afternoon, she will be on Grumpy's boat, the rubber boots on the red kid skis gripping her ankles, and the Donald Duck life jacket wrapping her in its sloppy, damp embrace. Inside the station, she spots her mother crouching by the peanut butter cheese crackers. She's in profile, but the scarf hides just enough so that Chloe can't see her eyes. "Going to the bathroom," she says. Her mother doesn't turn. She dawdles a moment in the candy aisle, running a finger across the silvery chunky wrappers, the boxes of 10-cent kisses along the bottom shelf. She has almost reached the bathroom when her mother says, "Need help, sweetie?" Chloe wants to dance, turn around and race at her mother and jump into her arms. Then she does turn and something prickly and old cold rolls over under her ribs. Her mother's face, smiling softly down, tears streaming from her blue eyes. "No, thank you," Chloe whispers and shuts herself in. The toilet has poop in it and a mound of tissue. Chloe doesn't actually have to go. Sinking into a huddle by the door in the ugly yellow light, she tries to hold her breath, but her chest prickles and she bursts out coughing, crying again. She can't stay here. The smell is too much, but she doesn't want to go back out. She's terrified to think what else might have changed by the time she opens the door. Each new breath of putrid air triggers a cough, and each blink fresh tears. Run, she thinks. Sneak past the kisses, bolt out the door, find a way to Grumpy's. Except that the only place to run is into the corn. In the dark, Chloe can't imagine doing that. And then she realizes she doesn't want to. She already knows the safest place, the only place that hasn't changed, that's still hers. She needs to get back to the way back, where the miracle is. She has just gotten the heavy door partway open when she hears them. Bumpy voice mom, growly dad, whispering just out of sight in the next aisle. You see, her father is saying, halfway snarling. Her mother sobs. I told you. You did. It's true. You dreamed it, Carol. And no wonder. I mean, those nights when we both really thought we were going to lose him. But we didn't, Chloe's mother whispers, her voice seeming to twitch back and forth now. Chloe's mother, changed mother, Chloe's mother. Because of you, her father whispers. Because of your unshakable hope. Because of him. Because he came. Because of you. You saved him, Carol. You saved your son. You do see that now, right? Soft sob. Silence. Then footsteps. Chloe pushes hard at the door, but by the time she gets out and hurries down the candy aisle after them, they are already at the pumps, arms around each other, halfway to the car. Her father goes straight to the driver's side, dropping his cigarette to the tarmac. It is her mother who waits by the way back doors and touches Chloe's hair as she climbs in beside her brother. Is it my birthday yet? Chloe asks, not quite looking at her mother's eyes. She doesn't want to see anymore, doesn't want to think. She hears her mother gasp, glance at her watch. Not yet, she whispers. Oh, shit, not yet. The door drops down and the car starts, and up front her parents are snarling and whispering again. Chloe crouches low, curls into a ball with her knees just touching her brother's back. If he wakes and feels that, he'll be furious. But if she's sleeping when he does, he won't mind. Sleep, she commands herself, pleads with herself. Sleep. She dreams cold, old cold, green eyes, bird feet hands that aren't her hands, aren't, reaching for the beating winged bird. Straw into gold, hillsides of stone, old stone, grasshopper cornstalk squeezing in the window, slithering through it, crouching over her in the empty dark, with its antennae brushing her face and its husks, its dozens of husks hard and bumping against her chest, her legs. Those hands prying into the cage, reaching through the bars, ribs, toward the red and beating thing. Chloe wakes to a silent car. Bright sunlight. She is flat on her back, but she can feel the miracle's heat against her forearm. He's moving now, stretching. Out the window there are trees overflowing with green, shading her from the brilliant blue overhead. Minnesota lake trees. Somewhere close there's a hum, motorboat hum. Chloe is halfway sitting up when she hears them. You'll see, says her father, sounding tired, but only tired, and happy, almost. Sure, in the way he somehow still hasn't learned not to be, that the worst is behind him. He pulls open the back door, arms wide, and it's him, her cat dad, with his whisker face, and she sits all the way up, just to revel in it, just to watch it all land, and he staggers back, staring. Revel? That's what it's doing anyway, Chloe knows. The cold one inside her, the one moving her arms, blinking her eyes, making her watch. Vaguely, glancing toward her brother, Chloe wonders whether she really did figure it all out, or if the knowledge just came with the intruder, the cold one with the bird feet hands, practically dancing down her ribs under her skin in his glee. Now she really does know. She knows how this happened. She knows when the cold one first appeared in her mother's hospital room. Her mother, whose eyes have always been blue. It's this other's mother that confused her. Anyway, she knows what the cold one promised. She knows what he got her mother to offer in exchange. Where is she? Chloe's father is murmuring, hovering right outside the way back door and waving his hands as though trying to clear a fogged windshield, while out the side window her mother stands rooted, hands over her mouth, shuddering and weeping. There's something almost comforting about it, about both her parents' reaction. At least they can tell. At least she really was her. There really was a something named Chloe. I'm right here, she wants to scream. Right here. But of course the cold one won't let her. He's having way too much fun. Her father is on his knees now, just the way the cold one liked him, murmuring through his tears, through his disbelief, which isn't really disbelief anymore. So delicious when they understand, the cold one tells her, in his inside ice voice, when they can't stop denying, can't stop pleading, even when they already know. So pathetic. Her father looked down there, hands going still, head flung back in desperation or resignation. Please, he says, what have you done with my daughter? Thanks very much.